Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, Isack Hadjar has had a solid start to life in Formula One and has been touted as the potential Rookie of the Year already. However, whilst he is certainly right up there in that debate as far as I'm concerned, I'd argue he's also been a big surprise in 2025, and here's why. Let's start by looking at his road to F1, which quite frankly was far from spectacular. As his time in karting was coming to an end, Hadjar took part in 3 races in the Ginetta Junior Winter Championship in 2018 before moving to a full-time seat in French F4 for the 2019 season. During his time in that series, he picked up a couple of podiums, including 1 win, and ended the year 7th in the standings. That was followed by a P11 finish in the Formula 4 UAE Championship in 2020, and a far more successful French F4 season that same year, where he actually finished 3rd in the standings overall, having grabbed 3 wins and a total of 11 podiums. Solid campaigns in F3 Asia and Formula Regional Europe will be next for the Frenchman in 2021, before taking 3rd place in the Formula Regional Asian Championship in 2022. All of that would earn him a promotion to Formula 3, where he managed to take 3 wins and a total of 5 podiums in his debut campaign, on his way to a very solid 4th place finish overall in the standings. Next up, it was Formula 2 for 2023. Now, his first year in the category was not great, to be fair, as he ended the year with just a single podium finish and a 14th place championship finish. It is also worth noting that Hadjar held the role of AlphaTauri and Red Bull test driver alongside his F2 duties. In 2024, his final year in junior racing, he would have a much better and very strong season in F2, as he picked up a total of 8 top 3 finishes, which included 4 wins, as he narrowly missed out on the title, finishing runner-up to Gabriel Bortoleto by 22.5 points. Despite missing out, though, he would still get the call up to F1, but more on that in just a moment. Why did I need to go through all those stats? Well, put quite simply, it was just to highlight the fact that his junior career did not hit the dizzying heights of some, and let's be honest here, was far from incredible. After all, he won just 15 races between 2018 and the end of 2024 and never actually won a junior championship. That's not unique, of course, to Hadjar. Drivers who failed to win titles in the junior categories have still made the move to Formula One, and there are many examples of drivers, which I'm sure you can mention in the comments, who won championships in their junior years, including F2, who have never even been given an opportunity in the top tier of motorsport. Point is, it's not the be-all and end-all, but it's still worth highlighting. The thing with Hadjar, though, that perhaps sets him apart in a way, is that he came with next to zero hype attached to his name. Nobody was really talking about him as a future star a few years back, and he only really started to gain recognition in his final year in F2, where again he finished as runner-up. And you know, that's a shame, because although not spectacular, his junior career was still solid, and he is and was a rapid young talent with a lot of untapped potential. But anyway, next up for Hadjar, it was Formula One, as he was drafted into the newly named Racing Bulls team for 2025. It was a move that seemingly wasn't all that likely 12 months prior, but with Sergio Perez getting the chop at the end of the 24 season, Red Bull needed to act and turn to its junior pool to fill the vacant seat at the sister team, following Liam Lawson's, as it turned out, very brief promotion to the main team. Having just missed out on that F2 title, Hadjar suddenly became the obvious choice, but the move was definitely met with some skepticism. After all, his pre-F1 stats were, again, not all that great, even though he had demonstrated that he had the speed and the potential. But also his temperament was a huge concern that a lot were keen to raise, and people saw that as something that could put teams off. As it turned out, though, they needn't have worried. As the 2025 season kicked off in Australia, things started well, actually. He qualified in 11th place and was well clear of the second Red Bull of Liam Lawson. However, come the race, well, there wasn't one for the Frenchman, as he crashed out on the formation lap in very tricky conditions. And that was a crash that hit him hard, as he struggled to control and hide his emotions and the clear frustration he had having made that error. As I've said in previous videos, it would have been so easy for that to knock him back and for Hadjar's results to suffer, especially if he wasn't able to shake it off, and his emotional reaction did hint to that. However, he bounced back with a solid 11th place finish in China before taking his first F1 points in Japan thanks to an 8th place finish. In fact, post-Australia crash, he went on a run of 5 points finishes in 8 races, which included an impressive P6 in Monaco, thanks to some very good driving and, yes, some smart team play to take advantage of that mandatory 2-stop rule thing. It should be said as well that whilst he has had the measure of Liam Lawson for the most part so far, he also performed well against a teammate for 2 races, Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, in China, their second and final race weekend as teammates, Hadjar outqualified him by the best part of 6 tenths, and in the Grand Prix outraced him to take P11 versus Tsunoda's P16. It was clear he bounced back well from his Melbourne misery and continued to do so as the season rolled on. Now, yeah, it's got to be said his run-up to the summer break was not the best and he found himself outperformed by his now teammate Liam Lawson at some events, so he will need to find strong form again consistently, but regardless, he has still impressed to this point in 2025, and let's be fair here, Max Verstappen aside, Hadjar has been the best of the Red Bull family drivers in F1, having demonstrated he still has the speed and can deliver very strong results for a midfield team. It's not been perfect, of course it hasn't, but still really impressive all things considered. And all of that waffle is ultimately why I think he has been the surprise of the season so far, and why it's only right that he is one of the, let's say, favourites to win Rookie of the Year. There will be those of you out there declaring that the driver with the most points is surely the best rookie, and whilst true in a who finished higher in the standings argument, it's hardly a fair comparison and I don't buy into it. As an example, Kimi Antonelli is driving a Mercedes, which is definitely a top 4 car and arguably a top 3 car, so of course he is going to score more points in comparison to a driver who is behind the wheel of a midfield car. I get the argument, I just don't agree with it. But back to my point, surprise of the season, Hadjar has again done a very good job and his stats back that up. He's clearly also worked on his temperament, as we've barely heard many, if any, major outbursts over the radio, and so that is another area where we've seen improvement. He's also shown multiple times that he has the mental strength to bounce back from adversity, and that shouldn't be ignored. He's come a long way from the angry, shouty junior driver he was viewed as not all that long ago. Look, for me, he has definitely done enough to earn a second season at Racing Bulls, whatever happens, within reason, between now and the end of the year. Sure, he does need to find consistent point-scoring form again in the final 10 races of 2025 to make sure people don't forget what he's capable of. After all, F1 is a fickle series, and it sometimes feels like teams have short memories when it comes to driver performance, and so a solid end to the year will, in theory, help offset that. It is possible, perhaps likely, as I've mentioned in other videos recently on the channel, so I'm not going about it too much, that he's already in the mix for that second Red Bull seat if Tsunoda is moved on. But for what feels like the 50th time in the last 6 months, I really hope they hold off on a promotion and give him a second season at the sister team to give him more time to hone his skills, as well as grow and improve as a driver. There is no mad rush right now, and so no need to burn through yet another young talent. Again, to reiterate the point, just in case it got lost in all that waffle, the Hadjar surprise comes from the lack of hype and the lack of talk about a potential future in F1. And if you compare how people talked about him to how Arvid Lindblad is being bigged up right now, there is a definite difference. Lindblad is seen as the next big thing at Red Bull, possibly their biggest find since Max Verstappen, and it feels all but a guarantee that he will be in F1 at some point soon. But it never felt like that with Hadjar. He's always been rated by the team, but not to the same degree, at least publicly. And a lot of the, wow, this kid is great, he's got superstar potential, watch out for him talk, only really came once they knew they needed him for this season. At least that's how it came across. That's not to say they thought he was a waste of space and no good. They just weren't singing his name from the rooftops. Am I reading too much into it? Maybe, and maybe it comes back to that difference in junior career achievements. Lindblad has a title, Hadjar never won one, but there definitely seems to me to be a difference in tone there. And actually, respectfully, I always feared that Hadjar would be one of those juniors who just about missed out on F1. Someone like Lindblad, for example, jumping the queue, meaning Hadjar would end up racing somewhere else. Not that that's a bad thing, there are plenty of great series out there where drivers can thrive, but you get my point. So to see him doing so well in F1 and so quickly as well has really made me, and I'm sure others too, look at him in a whole new light. And to be clear, this is a pleasant surprise. And hey, maybe Hadjar's situation is or will be proof that you don't need all the hype behind you or a glittering junior career to race well in F1, and that getting your head down, working hard, concentrating on what you need to do, and simply just delivering is sometimes enough to earn a seat at the top table of motorsport. Wow, that last part was all very after school special, wasn't it? Stay in school, kids. That is it for this waffle about Isack Hadjar, but you can let me know down in the comments section what you've made of the Frenchman's F1 career so far and what do you think comes next for him. Is he going to be in a Red Bull in 2026? Now, I will be back soon with another video on the channel, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help the channel in its never-ending battle with that pesky YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing too so you don't miss any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.